I'm Eric Butts.
And I'm Jim Butts.
We're SuicideFantasyFootball.com, live from the War Room. Today we're going to tell you the 7 things you need to know before you go to your draft this year.
It's my opinion always that the person who wins, for the most part, is the one who's the most prepared, not the luckiest person in the draft. So the first thing you need to do is you need to know your league. You need to know the rules. You need to know who gets what points for what. And if you have bonus points, you really need to know where they come in and what person is most likely to get those bonus points.
You also have to track every pick of the draft. Don't just write down your picks. You got to write down every pick so you know when it comes to you. If you need your quarterback and everybody else already has their starter, you most likely can go for another running back and then get your quarterback in a later round.
Never, ever, ever let your feelings get in the way. Don't not draft somebody because he's on the team that you hate, and don't draft your team's guys too early because you fall in love with them.
Everybody values people because they see them more often, Jim, so I hear what you're saying there. Another thing you got to do is make sure you're getting value in your mid-round picks. Everybody thinks about who they're going to take with their first pick in the draft. You can't miss with that pick, but very rarely does that first pick in the draft determine whether or not you win. Or it could determine that you lose, but rarely does it determine whether you win or not. So in the mid-rounds, get guys that you know are going to put up points. Guys like Derek Mason that everybody always shies away from. Grab him because you know he's going to be consistent when you need to put him in the lineup.
Always keep track of the players that you stole. As soon as you announce your pick, you're going to hear somebody grunt or somebody grumble, he was my next guy, whatever. Write that person's name down, because the first injury you have or the first guy that falters that you thought was going to excel, you're going to need to trade somebody. And if you stole them from them, they're going to pay what you need for that player.
And although I talk about making sure you get value picks, you really want to have a good mix of value and sleepers. You don't want to have just all value guys. You do want to take a flyer on someone who you can get in the 8th round that might have been a 2nd round pick or will be a 1st round pick next year. You're usually not going to find those guys in the value picks.
Last but not least, don't ignore the offensive line. Of course, you don't get points for all that stuff, but if your team has a horrible offensive line, the team you're drafting a player from, that can affect their performance.
What's your favorite quote? Everybody, or it's hard for a quarterback to throw a pass
That's
when he's laying on his back.
Steve Spagnuolo's quote. Every quarterback throws the same when they're laying on their ass.
So if he's your quarterback and he's great, but he has no line, he's going to be on his ass.
Absolutely.
Check us out. See more stuff we do. Follow our blog, SuicideFantasyFootball.com, Twitter, SFFcom. Check us out on Facebook /Suicide Fantasy Football, and also check out the Suicide Fantasy Girls. Like our page, and you'll get to vote eventually for the hottest Suicide Fantasy Girl who's got #SFF is my BFF somewhere on her beautiful body.
If you think you know something that we didn't mention, email it to me, jim@suicidefantasysports.com. We'll talk about it on our Blog Talk Radio show Wednesday nights at 7:30 p.m.
Signing out, Butts and Butts.